Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Wajaha and today we're going to talk about synthetic assets and why I think they're so good. Everything in this video is purely for educational value, none of it is financial advice, so as always, let's get straight to it. I think the first thing to understand is what actually is a synthetic asset. Now, a synthetic asset is essentially an instrument that you can buy that will essentially track the exact same price of the underlying asset. Now, I can give you an example. Let's take a synthetic Tesla stock. Now, essentially, that is just an instrument that you can buy that will track the exact same price of the Tesla stock. So you can go ahead and buy one of these synthetic Tesla stocks, and if Tesla's price goes up, well, so will your synthetic asset as well. Now, you might be thinking, why on earth would anyone buy a synthetic version of Tesla stock? Why would you not just go and buy real Tesla shares, which you can do in just a matter of minutes? Well, there's a number of reasons why they exist and why I think they're so good, and so let's talk about some of them. One of the reasons why synthetic assets are so good is that they don't have to follow the same sort of rules that the real underlying asset has to. Now, an example of these rules is like Tesla following the New York Stock Exchange. Market hours are usually between 9:30 AM and 4 PM Eastern Time, and therefore the majority of people can only buy and sell Tesla shares during this time. Out of this time, the majority of people aren't able to. However, with the synthetic Tesla share, well, you could trade it at any time. You could trade it before hours, after hours, and that's because it's not the real underlying asset. Not only that, but remember that on weekends, markets are closed. So what do you do if you want to buy some Tesla share, but it's Saturday or Sunday? Well, you can't. However, if you wanted to buy a synthetic version of Tesla, well, you could buy that at any time of the day, 7 days a week, and you have kind of full flexibility. Moving on to the second reason, and in my opinion, the best thing about synthetic assets, is that anyone can buy them anywhere in the world. One of the problems with the traditional financial system is that there's billions of people in the world who just don't have access to them. There's many countries who just don't offer their people the same sorts of financial services that people have, in Europe and America. A lot of people in Asia and Africa just don't have the same opportunity. And so if there's someone sat there, how the hell do they get access or any sort of exposure to the US economy? Well, they can't. If they wanted to buy Tesla shares, well, they can't. They just don't have the same infrastructure, the same platforms. They just don't exist there yet. For someone sat in one of these countries that just doesn't have the same sort of services and infrastructure, how did they invest in some of their favorite companies? How did they get exposure into the US economy? Well, one thing that they can do is that they can buy a synthetic asset. They could buy a synthetic version of Tesla. At least then they've got some sort of exposure to these companies. Another question that might have just popped into your head is that, well, if these countries don't have the same sort of financial services and infrastructure, well, how the hell are they going to buy a synthetic version of an asset? Surely that sounds a little bit more complicated. And it's not really. There's an actual application that I use on a regular basis called Mirror Protocol. It allows users to invest in some of their favorite companies by providing mirrored assets, which are essentially just synthetic versions of their underlying assets. Mirror Protocol use something called oracles, which essentially help to connect real-world data with a blockchain, and that's how they're able to get very accurate prices on the assets that they offer. For people living in Kenya, Pakistan, or Thailand, this has been a game changer because now finally they can get some sort of exposure to some of their favorite companies in the US economy. In fact, currently Thailand has the largest number of users on Mirror Protocol, and it's completely understandable why. They might not have the same opportunities to invest using stockbrokers or investment platforms, but now they don't need to because they've got something like Mirror Protocol there, and literally all they need is access to the internet, and they're able to invest in some of their favorite companies. Using DeFi platforms like SNX and Mirror are also great because you can actually use your crypto to buy some of these stocks. You also don't need to wait for things like clearing houses to process your orders, and you also don't need to sign up in the same way that you would with your normal investment platforms. DeFi uses a completely different approach, which is so much more simpler. Now, some of you guys watching will remember what happened with GameStop earlier this year. For those of you who don't know, GameStop is a company that a lot of people were buying earlier on in the year, and essentially it was going through a short squeeze. Lots of the investment platforms that people were using basically stopped or banned people from buying and selling, and it caused a lot of trouble. Lots of people were affected, including myself, because we weren't able to buy and sell. And I think it really hurt the trajectory of GameStop. I think it could have gone way higher than what it did. The good thing is that when you're using a platform like Mirror, something like that will never ever happen. And that's because it's run by its users, not by a central authority like Robinhood or Trading 212. There's no one there to tell you that you can't buy and you can't sell. Issues like that just won't happen. Lastly, and I think this is quite a big one, when you're using synthetic assets, especially on a platform like Mirror, there's a lot more that you can do than just buy and hold. There's loads of really interesting features that you can utilize, like staking as well as farming, that can help you to really increase your yield much more than you would by just holding the asset itself. Now my plan is to make a complete guide and show you exactly what I'm doing and show you how I'm making passive income using some of these strategies. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you smash that like button so you're ready when that video drops. So there we have it. Synthetic assets are great. There's billions of people that can potentially use them. And of course, when you integrate blockchain with them, there's lots of interesting things that you can do. As always, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with another video soon.